Greetings and good morning from Johannesburg, South Africa. Today I'm exploring the African plains in search of 4 rare and elusive animals. I've been dying to do this for so many years because those 4 rare and elusive animals are ones that I have died to see for all this time, and until now I have only seen these guys in zoos. I hope that you are just excited to see them as I am, because this is going to be perhaps the most memorable trip that I have ever taken in my whole life, at least for now. Not all these creatures are going to be endangered, but they're all going to be quite elusive and hard to spot, unless you know what you're doing and where they will likely spend most of their time. The 4 creatures that I'm here to see are the Black Rhino, the Nile Monitor Lizard, the Brown Hyena, and the Leopard. All of these are very elusive and can be quite hard to see, again, unless you know where to look. My first place to go is Madikwe National Park in South Africa, near the northern border towards Botswana. Oh, wow.
Now this is ask for volunteers.
Immediately, right as we were entering the park, we already saw some wildlife, mainly a herd of zebra and some antelope, which would later be joined by a small herd of wildebeest. Zebra are members of the horse family, in case you don't know. They look kind of like horses, and I think they're white with black stripes because they have white bellies. Some people say they're black with white. Let me know in the comments down below if you know which is which. Unfortunately, we only stick with this wildlife for a short amount of time as our driver continues driving us towards the Madikwe National Park Lodge that we will be staying in. Not long after leaving the zebra, we spot more wildlife as a giraffe stood next to the road watching us, with its long neck peeking up above the acacia bushes. On the other side of the road were some African bush elephants, the largest terrestrial creatures in the world. Arriving at the lodge, we find some very comfortable seating as well as some great viewing angles where passengers can look out across the plains and spot some wildlife if they're lucky enough to see it passing by. Our hotel is right next to the main lodge, and it has a cool deck where we can look out across the plains and spot wildlife if by any chance it goes by our house. Overall, a great place to hang out if you're out on the vast open African savanna. Next to the lodge was a watering hole, and I headed down there to spot a huge herd of African bush elephants drinking there. 2 of them appeared to be males that were fighting for dominance over the watering hole. While females get along pretty well, males don't usually like each other's presence. This seems to have been common with many big animals, or maybe big animals in general. I don't know why, but it is what it is. It's animal behavior. Check out the way the elephants drink. They first suck the water into their trunk, then squirt it right into their mouth. Most creatures have to bend down in order to get a drink, but elephants don't, thanks to their handy long nose, aka their trunk. A huge bull elephant soon walked right by where I was standing. Luckily, there was a fence between me and him, but he must have weighed like 7 tons or maybe even more, and as big as an elephant gets. The herd soon moves on, and I even spotted a cute little baby elephant, but the herd was moving on to the next watering hole, I suppose, or maybe even to find food. Wherever they were going, I'll just have to wait and see. Anyways. As the evening game drives approached, we spotted some small antelope that appeared to be steenbok right outside our hut. these little antelopes are cool creatures, I think. They're quite cute and also can run pretty fast. They have a lot of predators such as cheetahs and leopards, mainly cheetahs. They would be kind of small for a big cat like a lion, apparently. Let me know if I got the animal right or wrong in the comments down below. Heading out on the evening game drives, we spot what could have been the same herd of elephants I saw earlier at the watering hole. Elephants are majestic creatures and one of my favorite creatures, at least on land anyway. I like the African elephants more than the Asian elephants because they're the ones that I've always associated with elephants. Anyways. Now this is cool. I got a glimpse of a baby elephant, which was so cute. Unfortunately, the elephant soon trotted away towards its herd. After the elephants, we spotted some more zebra, which were very much like the zebra that I saw heading into Madikwe National Park. I don't like zebra quite as much as the large creatures like elephants and rhinos, but they are still cool creatures. Like many big animals out here, zebra graze primarily on grass. The grass did seem kind of yellow and dry at this time of year. There were also even some zebra standing right in front of us in the dirt road. The animal I was here in Madikwe to see was the black rhinoceros, and as to expect, I didn't have luck yet. I prayed that I would have luck in the future days, so we'll have to wait and see if I manage to spot one, as they are quite elusive and rare. I was quite exhausted and just eager to get in bed after this epic first time game drive, and it was quite chilly, and usually when I think of Africa I think of it as a hot landscape. Anyways, good night. The first animals to see on day 2 were a lion and a lioness hanging out together. The male lion is the one with the mane, and the lioness, or the female, is the one without the mane. Lions have always been my favorite big cat, seeing as they're the only wild cats known to be social, which has made them my #1 favorite wild cat. They are the second largest cat in the world, following only the tiger. However, seeing as they're pride hunters in a fight in their normal behavior, it seems that that a pride of lions would easily win against a tiger, which hunts alone. I wasn't sure what they were doing here, but perhaps they were mating. I heard that lions, and this seems to be common with many big cats, that they have barbs on their, maybe I shouldn't mention it, but it can sometimes hinder mating. Anyways, I don't think I'm gonna get too far into this mating stuff. They soon move on, and as do we with this game drive. We are soon greeted to a beautiful sunrise as we made our way across the park. The sunrise in Africa on nature programs has always been beautiful, and to see it in person is just even better. We soon meet our first rhinos, which were a mother southern white rhino and a juvenile. Southern white rhinos are one of the largest terrestrial creatures, following only the elephants that I saw earlier. Males can weigh up to a weight of 9,000 pounds, with females weighing around 5,000 pounds. Either way, that is one big creature. These giants have always been high on the list of my favorite animals, with white rhinos still being on the list. Still, my favorite is the black rhino, which I am really the one here to see. These big creatures
aren't white at all.
are also very endangered, with the only exception being the white rhino. The other four, the black rhino, the greater one-horned rhino, the Javan rhino, and the Sumatran rhino, are all critically endangered, with the white rhino being listed as near threatened. As you may have noticed, these guys really aren't white at all, nor is the black rhino actually black, hence the name. I think a name that would make way more sense would be hook-lipped rhino and square-lipped rhino, because in case you haven't noticed, these guys have a square upper lip, while the black rhino or hook-lipped rhino has a hooked upper lip. I suggest you think about the naming for a moment. It's good that they should call them square-lipped rhino. Let me know which name you prefer in the comments below. Just looking at rhinos in the wild is incredible. I have only seen these guys in zoos ever before. It's just totally a different experience to get a look at the second largest land mammal in the world in the wild. And would you look at the size of these extremely sharp horns? Although not as big, the black rhino actually has considerably longer horns than the white rhino, or at least so I've heard. Usually when people are referring to rhino horn, they say they have a horn, but actually most rhinos have two horns, not one. Only the Javan and the greater one-horn rhino have one horn, but the black and white rhinos that we've got here in Africa have two horns. The horns are actually the reason that most rhinos are so endangered. People call poachers hunt these guys for their horns because some people think that they have curing powers and can reduce things from cancer to fever. And then, because of that, a question arises. Why? Because rhino horn in actuality is nothing but keratin, which is the same substance as your fingernails and hair. So why on earth do people even think that rhino horn has some kind of healing powers? Because it makes absolutely no sense. Because of this sort of propaganda stuff, we should really do what we can to protect these majestic creatures, because if they went extinct, I would literally be heartbroken.
Need rhino horn as an ingredient, and I believe it's got superpowers. Now, rhino horn has been medically proven.
If you know a lot about rhinos, then you probably know that they have a reputation of being quite aggressive, mainly because they can't see very well and have a blurry vision, so they are prone to charge at things. However, according to my guy Gavin, it takes quite a lot to make a white rhino angry, but it doesn't take much to make a black rhino angry. In terms of African rhinos, individual species are actually divided into different subspecies. With the white rhino, you got the southern white rhino, like those guys here, and then you've got the functionally extinct northern white rhino with only two northern white rhinos left in the wild. They are cared for by humans. They are mother and daughter named Najine and Fatu. Black rhinos, you got three different subspecies. Well, you used to have four. They are the eastern black rhino, the southern central black rhino, and the southwestern black rhino. The western black rhino has been declared extinct recently. During the pandemic, there has been quite a bit of problems with rhino poaching, because with tourism being shut down due to COVID, there have been fewer people keeping eyes on the rhinos, and thus poaching has been considerably easier, which meant that during the pandemic, rhinos were hit pretty hard. After the rhinos, we arrived at this giant midden, which is a pile of mammal dung. In the distance, I saw what appeared to be a small herd of impala, a type of antelope native to the African bush. Continuing on, I saw another herd of what also appeared to be impala, mostly females because they didn't have the antlers. And yet again, I bumped into a herd of elephants. Perhaps again the same herd that I may have seen at the watering hole, though it's hard to tell for sure. Oh, there's another adorable little calf. Similar to rhinos, elephants are also hunted for their tusks because people use the ivory in their tusks for things like decoration, which is why, like rhinos, elephants have also recently become an endangered species. Currently, there are 415,000 African elephants left, but 30,000 are killed by poachers every year, and only about 24,000 are born every year, so it's unlikely that this number will remain in. Continuing on with the game drive, we soon pass another herd of zebra. Zebras seem to be commonly seen here in Madikwe National Park, as I've been bumping into herd after herd after herd. I'm kind of running out of things to say about these cool horse-like creatures, but in this herd there was a small calf. In the bushes, I saw what appeared to be a couple steenbok, like the ones I had seen yesterday out on the porch. Running across the plains were some kudu, the ones with those big curly horns. They're one of the biggest antelope herd in Africa, apparently. As well as the majestic wildlife, the landscape in Africa was just spectacular, and it was very much like the scenery I had seen in the western United States on my road trip. We soon bumped into a herd of wildebeest. Wildebeest are one of the most well-known African megafauna with big horns, and they will often move in herds together. As good a place this is to see wildebeest, the best place to see wildebeest is in the short grass plains, which is many thousands of miles northeast of here. There you'll see huge migrations of wildebeest, like herds just going as far as the eye can see. Uh-oh, ostrich! Have you ever seen this show Wildcrats? That's where I got it. Anyway, here's an ostrich. They're the largest birds in the world and have extremely powerful kicks that could probably badly injure a human. Continuing on with the game drive, we soon see what appeared to be that big bull elephant I had seen yesterday. And he was walking right in the road in front of us and clearly didn't care whether we were wanting for him to get off the road or not, because he was clearly acting like he owns the place. He was like, nah, I know you may want me to get out of there, but I was here first, so I'm gonna stay here. What a majestic giant. He must have been close to the 7-ton weight, and as big as most elephants can get. Unlike the females, which live in what are called matriarchal herds, males are usually solitary creatures. When they're young, they form what are called bachelor herds, but after that, once they're at a certain age, they go off on their own, and clearly, this guy is well past the age of him being in a herd. Elephants flap their ears either when they are getting hot and try to cool themselves off, or when they are agitated, angry, or scared, or stressed, or sad, basically feeling any negative emotions. These ears are really huge, and way bigger than mine. I can't even try and flap my ears, because they aren't super floppy compared to an elephant's. Another note about an elephant's trunk is that they have a solid 140,000 muscles in their trunk alone. That is way more than the entire human body, which only has 639 muscles. So, if I were in a tug of war against an elephant, the elephant would win easily. No way would I stand a chance. Seeing an elephant out on the savannah is just majestic. Like seeing the largest terrestrial animal in the wild, in his prime. He basically looking at him like he has an aggressive look and just seems as if like he really rules the place.
That is very big.
Though not quite as aggressive as a rhino, elephants can still be kind of dangerous. I hear that they can kill about 500 people every year. Because similar to rhinos, I hear elephants also have poor eyesight and thus are prone to attack things if they think that they are being threatened. Similar to the way elephants drink, they also use their trunks to grab acacia and browse off of the bushes, and they grab the branches with their trunk and then bring them up to their mouth and then munch it down. Amazing how many things an elephant's trunk can do. It's all in the nose. We continued on with the game drive as the sunset slowly began. Sunset in Africa is always a pretty sight. We soon run into what appeared to be the same rhinos I saw earlier, hidden deep in the bush there. That looks like the juvenile. Mom must have been behind further in the bush. Check out the way the rhino curls his tail up. Only white rhinos do that. Black rhinos, instead of curling their tails, will point them straight in the air when they feel agitated. Coming to the watering hole, we saw a huge male southern white rhino. He had to be close, if not at the 9,000-pound weight. That was a huge creature, and look at the size of these horns. Hard to imagine anything would outsize this beast, except maybe an elephant. Hanging out on this rhinoceros were a couple of oxpeckers. Oxpeckers are types of birds that eat ticks off of rhinos and form what is called a symbiotic relationship. A mutualism symbiotic relationship, to be precise. It's where two animals benefit from each other. The oxpeckers get a meal, the rhino gets rid of the parasites. Imagine if you had parasites all over you. That would probably be quite annoying, so I don't think it would be any less annoying for the rhino. So, thanks to the oxpeckers. In addition to keeping the rhino clean, oxpeckers also sound an alarm whenever any lions, leopards, or hyenas approach, and the rhino will know to charge. As the rhino got closer, I noticed that there were quite a few scars on his face. I suspected that these were from fighting, as male rhinos do not like to have each other's presence around and will avoid each other at all costs. If they meet each other and are unwilling to back down, they will likely fight over their territory, which can leave these scars that you see. He started spraying, which is usually a sign of him wanting to mark his territory. It's called scent marking. If a rhino smells that urine, it will know to keep out. After the rhino, I yet again run into a herd of elephants. Elephants also seem to be a common thing that I keep running into here in Madikwe, and surprisingly, they were quite calm. And they weren't super aggressive at all here in Madikwe. I guess it's because they were so used to humans that they probably knew that we weren't super dangerous. So there was fewer poaching around here. As we were looking at the elephants, the sun continued to descend towards the horizon, meaning that it was about to end our second day here in Madikwe National Park. Let's hope we have better luck tomorrow with seeing the Black Rhino, but things have definitely gotten better. We've seen more cool creatures, so only time will tell what we see in the future. On day 3, we soon see a spotted hyena. Spotted hyenas are one of the most aggressive predators out in the African plains, and as a pack have been even known to take on lions. We soon see one of the most endangered, perhaps the most endangered predator out on the African plains, the African wild dog. These are one of my favorite predators out here, at least in the canine family. They are also called painted dogs, and according to my guy Gavin,
yeah, they're also called the painted wolf, yeah?
They're also called painted wolves.
So I think those hyenas must have stolen their scraps, you see, because they're all full. They're all full of blood. Yeah.
Apparently, the wild dogs had made a kill earlier and were full, and some hyenas had taken their leftovers, according to my guy Gavin.
Yeah, come straight.
As we were on the move, so were the dogs, and we managed to get a quick shot of them running. This is what wild dogs look like when they're hunting. They'll run down their prey and keep it up for kilometers, and eventually wait till their prey gets tired. We eventually run into yet another ostrich, also a male. You can tell the males from the females because while males have black feathers, females have brown feathers for more camouflage. We soon run into yet another southern white rhino. The white rhinos have been common here in Madikwe, but the black rhino has been much harder to find. After the rhino, we run into a couple of giraffes. Giraffes have those long necks made for eating leaves out of acacia trees. They are again what are called browsers. After the giraffes, we again ran into an entire crash of rhinos. That's what a group of rhinos is called, a crash. You'll usually only see white rhinos in large crashes like this, as black rhinos are solitary creatures, mainly the males, which is the same with white rhinos, but with white rhinos, the females are social. With black rhinos, the females don't exactly mind each other, but they're not exactly social like the white rhinos you see here. It's mostly females and their calves, some of which are young, most of which are juvenile, but there's also that big bull that I saw earlier with these battle scars he had from his fights for his territory. The male really did stand out compared to the rest of the herd, mainly due to his massive size compared to the females. Again, like with most animals, males are bigger than females. As the male went off into the distance, there were a couple of elephants in the direction he was headed. Rhinos usually will avoid fighting elephants at all costs as they are much bigger. With one last look at an elephant, we can head back to the lodge and get a good night's rest before day 4, which will be our final day in Madikwe before moving on to our next part. On day 4, we are met with an extremely pleasant surprise, which means that I have found the creature I am here for. From out of the bushes popped a mother black rhino with her baby. The creature I am here for, I have found at last. Unlike white rhinos, which weigh up to 9,000 pounds, black rhinos are the smaller of the two, weighing at around 6,000 pounds for males and about 4,000 pounds for females. Still, that's one big creature. I managed to get some brief footage of the black rhino before it disappeared again. That was incredible. Not only did I see a black rhino, but I saw a black rhino mom with a baby. Now that's not a common thing to see. That's 1 down, 3 more to go. The next place I'm going is Mahadi National Park, where I will be documenting one of the biggest lizards in the world, the African Nile Monitor Lizard, a type of water monitor native to bodies of water across the African plains, particularly the Nile River. The first thing to see in Mahadi is again a huge herd of elephants, which were again drinking from a much bigger watering hole than I saw in Madikwe. As well as the elephants were a herd of zebra, which were also drinking from the watering hole. I've heard that elephants do sometimes torment smaller creatures. We can head down to water level and get a closer look at these creatures here at this small dock where we can really look at the animals. According to my new guide Lazzy, the zebra here is one of the vastest migrations ever, and is definitely up there with the Great Migration of the Zebra and Wildebeest in the Serengeti. They were rather hard to see, but over in the distance were two hippos hanging out. I could only see their heads because most of these giant creatures were under the water. Day 2 in Mahadi begins with a tourist drive across the national park. First creatures to see were a huge pod of hippos. Hippopotamus are known for being extremely territorial, and they actually kill more people annually than any other creature in Africa, with an annual body count of around 2,000 people a year. These are the third largest land animals on planet Earth, following elephants and the black and white rhinos. Well, elephants can weigh at 7 tons, white rhinos at 4.5 tons, and black rhinos at 3 tons. These guys weigh around 2 to 2.5 tons. Still, that is one big creature.
Or maybe a herd.
Though they are considered land creatures, hippos usually prefer the water, like during the hot times of the day, and they usually only come out at night. I'm kind of lucky to see them out of the water during the day, because usually they are doing this out at night. This is because hippo skin is very sensitive to the sun and can get sunburned quite easily, and if they stand out of the water too long, they will overheat. A little bit down the stream was a small Nile crocodile, and I could only get so good of a footage of him. Heading down the road, we spot an African scops owl. I don't know a whole lot about this species, but if you know more about it, let me know in the comments down below. You can see him just hiding in there. He's kind of hard to see. We again ran into some elephants, and our guides asked us to keep still because unlike what I experienced in Madikwe, where the elephants are calm, these elephants aren't nearly as used to humans here in Mahadi as they were in Madikwe. Uh-oh, ostriches! Continuing on, we soon ran into an entire flock of ostriches, of both males and females. Ostriches live in groups called flocks, oftentimes, and they will oftentimes lead their chicks and keep them safe in flocks from big predators like lions. We soon come to the waterhole, and I spotted a huge float of Nile crocodiles. That's a group. I think that's what a group of Nile crocodiles is called, as well as vast herds of wildebeest, zebra, elephants, and many more. This was basically a creature paradise, unlike anything I had seen before. Really, this was an amazing sight. Sort of like what I had seen on documentaries by old Sir David Attenborough. Across the waterhole was the creature I was here to see. A Nile Monitor Lizard was heading into the water, preparing to swim across the watering hole to the other side, which meant that I was probably going to get some good shots of him. Like all water monitor lizards, Nile Monitor Lizards are able to swim, and they actually frequently will use water to regulate their body temperature, because like pretty much all reptiles, they are cold-blooded, which means they can't maintain their own heat. Watching a Nile Monitor Lizard swim is cool. They are like little crocodiles, but not quite as big, and they lack the amount of teeth that you would always see on a crocodile. Getting closer, we see a pretty darn big lizard. I heard that Nile Monitor lizards can grow up to 6 feet long if you include their very long tail. Their favorite food is eggs. Things like crocodile eggs. They will sneak into nests and steal eggs from many creatures such as birds and crocodiles. I hear that they'll even eat young Nile Monitor lizards that are not their own.
The monitor lizard.
They're still not as big as the much larger Komodo dragon. That's 2 down, 2 more to go. We've gotten the black rhinoceros and the Nile Monitor lizard. We are now about to head over to the salt pans, and the way we're getting there is going to be something unlike I've ever done before in my life. Just wait and see. Getting to the salt pans will equal my first ever helicopter ride. I've always flown in airplanes, but never in a helicopter. Taking off, we get an amazing view of the African savanna as we make our ascent. This view really gave me a sense of how vast this country was, with the African bush stretching out as far as the eye could see. Man, was the helicopter quite loud, hence the headphones that I had so I could contact the pilot. Acacia trees were seen under us, with even a couple of elephants using them probably for food. The salt pans began to appear on the horizon, which was a good thing, which meant that we were about to land, which was a relief for me as I was starting to get a little helicopter sick. The salt pans stood out against the rest of the savanna, seeing as they had no grass on them. After a little bit more flying, we finally reached the salt pans, which meant that it was time to get off the helicopter and recover from the helicopter sickness and eventually head out on the evening game drive.
About 1 o'clock there.
The first thing to see on our evening game drive were a couple of wildebeest and zebra.
That horizon. I don't know if you see that.
It seems that zebra and wildebeest often do travel together in herds. 2 different creatures of 2 different families, not only so closely related, but they still get along pretty well. As the herds went on, we got a gorgeous view of the sunset. None of this has been color edited in any way. This is exactly how it looked in Africa. You should enjoy this spectacular sunset whenever you go to Africa because you're gonna have a blast watching it. We soon take a break on one of the salt pans and managed to get the conclusion of the orangeness after the sun had set over the horizon. During the break, let me show you something interesting about the sand here.
So you notice that the top layer of this sand here in the salt pans is really hard. This sand on the bottom is quite soft. This is because it gets its name salt pan because this area is full of salt. And the salt on top during the wetting season gets wet, whereas the layer on the bottom doesn't, which is why the top layer is harder than the bottom layer.
Anyways, I hope you understood that, and it's now time to bring day 1 to a close. On day 2, we see a small herd of wildebeest out in the middle of the open plains, grazing. Out in the distance, I saw an endangered bird known as a Cory bustard, something very rare to see these days. The wildebeest soon crossed the road in front of us, which meant that we had to wait a little. Our guides decided to follow them to the watering hole, and we witnessed something very cool. A huge herd of wildebeest coming in and grabbing a drink. On a number of Sir David Attenborough's nature documentaries, I've seen wildebeest coming to a watering hole to drink, and Nile crocodiles going after them and drowning them for food. There were no crocodiles in the watering hole, but that would have been an exciting thing to see. At the watering hole with the wildebeest were a couple flamingos. I saw one of them was completely white. Usually when you think of flamingos, you imagine them being pink, but flamingos get their pinkness from eating all that shrimp, and I suppose that these flamingos hadn't been eating a lot of shrimp, hence being white. Soon passed a small herd of zebra, which I later saw were letting out dung. Zebra dung is a great fertilizer for grass, seeing as how it contains leftovers of grass in it. We then run once again into a huge bull elephant who was once again alone, much like the one I saw in Madikwe. Out on the salt pan was a mixed herd of stampeding wildebeest and ostriches. This isn't common to see wildebeest and ostriches stampeding together, but it does happen from time to time. As night fell, I got my first look at the brown hyena, the animal I was here for. Fortunately, I would get a better look at it tomorrow.
Very sloping, more than spotted hyena, and also the ears are very tall and pointed. Yeah. Unlike
On day 3, we spotted a couple of lions inside our camp, which seemed rather dangerous, as lions are among the most dangerous cats in the world. They were quite hard to see, as they are very well camouflaged. Continuing on, we kept going across the savannah in salt pans and eventually stumbled upon a small clan of meerkats, and I managed to get some up-close shots of them. Meerkats are small, weasel-like creatures that live across the African plains and underground. They mainly eat things like insects and worms, and thus have to dig through them, and are great diggers, and can dig quite fast too. They were not shy at all, and some of them even got onto the heads of some of my fellow tourists. It was quite cute watching them dig, but they also had these sharp claws, which of course I probably would have wanted to beware of. Continuing on, we saw a young male lion who was just starting to grow his mane. As the sun began to set, we soon came towards the brown hyena den, which was my chance to get an up-close shot of the brown hyena. The hyena was hidden for a couple minutes, so it involved a little bit of waiting before I could get the shot I was hoping for. After a bit of waiting, I managed to see the brown hyena's head poking out from the tall grass. Brown hyenas are very different from the spotted hyenas. For one thing, their ears are tall as opposed to being round and out on the side like the spotted hyena. They look basically like a mix between I'd say, African wild dog and a hyena. These are one of actually 3 species of hyena: the well-known spotted hyena, the striped hyena, and of course, the brown hyena here. They are smaller than the spotted hyenas, which are the largest of the 3. They're also a lot shaggier than the spotted hyenas and have longer hair, particularly on the neck and the tail. As we were looking at the brown hyena, the sun made its final descent over the horizon, so check out these few shots of the sun disappearing. My search for the brown hyena in the salt pans is now done, which means that it's time to move on to the next creature. That's 3 down, just 1 more to go. We've now got the black rhinoceros, the Nile Monitor Lizard, and the brown hyena. Now we just need the leopard, which is going to be pretty hard to find as they are very well camouflaged. To find the leopard, I am headed over to the Okavango Delta, as I hear that my guide Lazzy knows of some leopards there, and hopefully he'll be able to help me find them. To get to the Delta, I took a small airplane that could only fit a few passengers in it and had a propeller on the nose, and the landing gear was fixed, which meant that it couldn't retract, which led to increased drag and limited speed. First to see in the Delta were a couple of red lettre and waterbuck. These are antelopes that love the Okavango Delta. The red lettre are the ones that are sort of brownish. The Okavango floodplains were basically a swamp, but during the dry season they're actually more of a desert. Hard to believe that this, in the dry season, is a desert. Heading through the Delta, our Jeep does something extraordinary. It drives through the water. If my car did that, it would probably get stuck. This has an incredibly designed Jeep. I again run into yet another matriarchal herd of elephants, mostly moms, babies, and juveniles. Elephants love the Okavango Delta as they can get plenty of water here. We soon run into a small pack of African wild dogs which were resting out the heat of the day. Wild dogs usually go hunting in the morning, but spend the rest of the day either eating, playing, or, as in this case, resting out the heat of the day. The African plains can get quite hot, as you probably know, and thus many animals will spend the heat of the day resting in shades to stay cool. Like all canines, wild dogs are social creatures that live in groups. Their pack hunting skills can allow them to take down prey way bigger than themselves, including the giant wildebeest and zebra that I saw earlier. Probably not something as big as like a rhinoceros. We soon stumble upon a lion pride with 2 male lions in it, both of which had battle scars from fighting over territory. In the pride were some adorable little lion cubs. And if there were lion cubs, there ought to be a lioness. Lionesses will nurse the cubs and And one will stay behind while the rest goes out hunting and the males go out on patrol to protect the territory. I've always wanted to see lion cubs in person. I've seen them plenty on TV shows, and to see them, they are just adorable. We soon meet more of the antelope that live in the Okavango Delta. Wasn't sure what type these were, as well as some elephants. I just seem to be running into elephant after elephant after elephant on this expedition across Africa. They just don't seem too hard to see, probably because they're so big and pretty common for now. Again, they may not be super common for long due to the extreme poaching that they are facing. On the other side of the road, a huge bull elephant was wallowing in the mud and was getting very muddy indeed. I could see the sun setting just behind the bushes there, but it made it a bit hard to see. Plus, the elephant soon got in the way. We soon moved on, as that bull elephant in the mud apparently did not like our presence. Again, elephants can be pretty aggressive if they think that they feel threatened. As darkness took over, I soon saw the animal I was here to see, the leopard. Make that 2 leopards.
The other one is behind.
The leopards I saw were 2 juveniles. They were still transitioning towards adulthood, but apparently their mom was out hunting. Leopards are most active at night when it's cool out, so that they don't overheat quickly. Like all cats, they are short distance runners and rely on ambushing, hence the spots that they have, which allows them to camouflage against the reeds. The red nightlight that was shined on them gave me a pretty good shot, but it would have probably been way better of a shot had it been daytime. It's also good to mention that leopards are great climbers, as you can see from this guy climbing the tree here. Didn't look like he had the hang of it just yet, as he appeared to still be learning how to climb back down the tree. Leopards are skillful at climbing both up and down the tree, something that most cats, including our own domestic cats, lack in terms of skills. The leopard's attention soon turned behind us, which meant that something was probably behind us that they were curious about. I wondered what it was, and so did our guides. As the leopards looked back, our guides realized that there was actually a huge hippo behind us. Unfortunately, I didn't get a shot at the hippo, as had the guides shined a light on it, which would have been my chance of getting it, it would probably made the hippo mad. Alright, I searched the African plains for 4 rare and elusive animals and found them all. I found the Black Rhinoceros, the Nile Monitor Lizard, the Brown Hyena, and the Leopard. You don't know how lucky I am to have found all of these things, as all of these are quite elusive and rare. I couldn't have done this without the help of all my guides, and I hope that you enjoyed this expedition as much as I did. Thanks for watching.